full. Tune in and watch the drama unfold.
Well, that was one of the more disappointing games that we've had this season, and the momentum that the Leafs had has been shut down by Linus Ullmark and the Ottawa Senators as the Toronto Maple Leafs fall. They get shut out, and Darius, it was rough. It wasn't great. Things are looking, I think things are still okay, but it was a rough night for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and ultimately, this is one to forget. This is one where you move on. They play again tomorrow. And again, a lot of the times where they've had these bad games, you think about on to the next one, because in tomorrow nights, you have a game tomorrow. So you can't think about it too hard. But Darius, a brutal loss. No one really played well. I mean, Anthony Stolarz played fine. If the offense would have given him anything, the defense was kind of rough. Tons of shots on goal for the Ottawa Senators. Minimal shots on goal for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And ultimately, at this point, it was a bit of a disaster. What's up, Jose Blake?
What's up, guys? Welcome. And yeah, terrible game tonight. Not much to pick from it, honestly. Don't know even where to start because I feel like the Leafs didn't start tonight. And yeah, a lot of your top players not playing like your top players. There's players that you're paying a lot of money to that aren't named Austin Matthews that should be able to take over a game, and they don't in these situations. And I think that's why people get very frustrated with this team. That's why I get frustrated with this team. And yes, Ullmark got a shutout, and yes, he's a good goalie in the league, but they didn't really test him that much. Like, I don't know exactly how many shots they ended up with, but it was under 30, I think. So not great. That's for sure. Yeah, not great. So you got to test a guy like that more, especially if you know he's going to be good. And they didn't give the Senators a test at all tonight. This is not something I think Berube is going to sit lightly with. And you're heading into tomorrow night's game now against a Washington Capitals team that is surprisingly really good this season. So we're going to see how that plays out. Austin Matthews looks like he might still be out, but they've been playing really well without him. I don't know what this performance was, honestly. They had a couple of days off here and they just laid an egg. This was tough to watch from the beginning. They lost this game in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, one of the worst losses I've seen in a very long time. And again, we'll get some of your guys' thoughts and take with it what we can. The screenshots of this box score is a little bit cut off, but again, Anthony Stolarz had a rough game. Linus Ullmark, shout out to him. I guess he had the shutout. Not many high danger chances. What's up, Shane? And Devin and Ray and everybody. And Jay, what's up? Yeah, okay. So let's start from the top here. Obviously, you look at the box score and it was interesting. You have guys like Matthew Nyes. You have Mitch Marner, all the guys who are supposed to step up in the absence of Austin Matthews. And Bobby McMahon had 4 shots tonight, which is something that we hadn't seen too much. Connor Dewar made his Toronto Maple Leafs season debut. And it was fine. Again, he only played 8 minutes, but what a weird game. OEL had an off night a little bit. He was -3, some interesting defensive plays, but the offense got nothing going. Jose, thank you so much for the 10. It is very appreciated. Wrong animation. Very much appreciated for that. Thank you for the 10. It wasn't a good game. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it was a rough one. And I think that it comes down to the fact that they just didn't. It feels like they just weren't ready to play, which is weird. They had some games off. They were a couple days off. They were coming off of a very hot weekend. And yeah, Jose, thank you so much for that. And it just turned into a complete game, a game where you just move on to the next one, which is, again, will be tomorrow. And they have a quick turnaround on these. You can just completely forget about it. What a disaster game. We'll try to take what we can from it over the next little while. I do project it'll be a shorter stream from us here tonight because there isn't honestly much to take from this game. Usually we have analysis and things like that, but my analysis is the team was bad. The team was horrible, and I have a big feeling Craig Berube is going to be on these guys' butts in the post-game press conference. But Jose, thank you again for the 10, and yeah, it's a weird one.
I wonder if a couple players are going to get called out tonight, because I did not like a couple of the performances. And you mentioned Connor Dewar there off the top. Very mid to come into, like, I'm not expecting him to score a hat trick, but very mid. Did not do much that I liked tonight. I didn't think he was bad. Like, I don't know. It wasn't horrible, but the whole team, that was a very poor effort from the entire team. So they got to put in a really good effort here against Washington, because if they lose, one of the next two games now too, there's going to be a sour taste in everyone's mouth, and they head into next week with only one game on the schedule. So this could get ugly very quickly. But I wonder if Berube does call anybody out. And you were bringing up, some of the stats here on the box score. If you look at the impact charts, which we don't have right now.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I just want to bring it up. We don't have to look at it, but if you look at the impact charts on Twitter right now, I have not seen this far of a negative impact for a team yet this season.
Feel free to send it over if you
yeah, I'll toss it over. But in terms of OEL's game, I have not seen negative impact like this season.
And we'll get the impact chart up here. And I mean, it's it was a game, and again, there was some hope coming in. Like, I expected the Toronto Maple Leafs to win this game. They were coming off of 3 straight wins, but they've been really good lately. 9-5-2. That's one of their better starts in recent years and in recent memory. And now they're 9-6-2. And again, I'm going to stay optimistic. We had a very similar situation a couple weeks ago, and then they came back. They bounced back. They beat the Jets. They kept it rolling, and they built it up to a fine record. I think the team is fine. I think they're going to be fine. I think tonight was just a blip. They need Austin Matthews back. They need to figure their stuff out. Joseph Wall figures to take the net tomorrow, and they need something. He'll definitely be on their butts. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, and let's get the impact score chart up here, and I'll drag it in for you all to have a look at. But what an interesting game. And I was thinking throughout the whole time, I was like, what a weird one. What a absolutely weird one to try to analyze, try to just psychoanalyze it and figure out what was going on with the team's head tonight. It was just so weird. And we can look at the game score, the box score, the impact chart, whatever you want to call it. And you can see here. So OEL had probably the worst game out of anyone ever in the NHL this season. It's probably near that. It was really bad,
I've seen,
alongside Lane Hudson. But you can see that you have Morgan Riley had a rough game, and a lot of the defensive core. Bobby McMahon rough as well. Again, Chris Tanev still managed to have a solid performance. Connor Timmins again, Steven Lorentz. Just a weird one. And I don't know if any of you in the chat, let us know if you noticed any players that you thought were particularly good or particularly bad, because William Nylander did end up playing. You can see him. He was towards the bottom, middle of the pack there above Jake McCabe. But it was a weird one, a bit of a disaster class game. Looking at the score impact chart, I mean, a lot of negatives here.
Yes, Nylander did end up playing, which is ironic because, you didn't really notice him or many other players on the ice tonight. But just looking at this chart, I'm really just digesting this now because I did watch the game. Ryan Reeves being third and then also being a positive for team defense in a game where you lose 3-0 is insane. You need better performances out of your best players. That's what I'll leave that at. And I have not seen OEL, I think, has been really good this year, but this was a stinker performance. Him and Morgan Riley as a pairing was a really tough one. And Chris Tanev, I mean, probably one of the better players on the ice for me tonight, just because, he's continuing to keep it simple, which is nice. But again, and you're not looking to him to score. So I feel like he was still doing his job in a way, but just like nobody really. I thought Connor Timmins was playing all right too. I thought he had a pretty decent game for what it was, if we're picking positives out, but the rest is just a mix of a really poor performance.
Yeah,
awful,
really bad. And yeah, Chris Tanev played well. Shane, you make a good point. I think the forwards let them down more than the defense. It couldn't keep possession. Without the defense, it could have been a 7 or 8 goal game tonight. Yeah, I mean, the forwards, the time of possession, the time on attack, all those things were favoring the Ottawa Senators. And I mean, it's very rare. We haven't had a shutout in a while. Obviously, the first opening night we had a shutout. Have we had a shutout since then? I don't know if we
no,
we had. So
the most interesting thing is the Leafs had I believe it was a league record for most games consecutively without being shut out. And I
Prior
forget
to
how many
game one.
games it was prior to game one of this year. And now they've been shut out twice under Berube, which I'm not like going to chalk it up to Berube and his style or anything like that. It's just they had a very poor effort. I did notice, like what Shane was saying, a lot of times the defense was giving the puck up to the wingers when like they were making, they were cutting for them and then they would stop because the puck never came in time. The defense would give it to them and then it was just dead. The play was dead. They were getting hit. They were forced to dump the puck in. They weren't chasing. It was just a mess. There was no chemistry. I think the best part of the game to me was I was watching most of the game, but I was in the car for the last 5-7 minutes ish of it. And Joe Bowen said that at the end when the Leafs pulled their goalie, they should just give Ridley Gregg the puck at center ice and see what he does with it. I thought that was hilarious. Um, he goes, let's give him the puck at center ice and see what he does with it and what the reaction is to it. And I was like, that's hilarious. So I just wanted to shout that out. I thought that was funny, but that was the best part of the night for me. But yeah, just poor performance and nobody was clicking tonight. You're gonna have these games, but I just wish there was more pushback, right? Because I thought Ottawa was playing really well and finishing their checks. And the Leafs just weren't. There's no pushback. It's not like they were matching the energy. If you match the energy and you still lose, like that's another thing. We can talk about that, but they didn't do that, I don't think.
Yeah, and they move now to 8-7. The Ottawa Senators do, which again is not terrible. They're on the rise to a degree, at least compared to some of their past couple of seasons. Players making money like they are, not even showing up to play, should be put in the press box. Unacceptable period. Yeah, I mean, I know someone asked did Alex Steves play. He did not. Alex Steves did not play. I think it was more of an emergency thing as opposed to. I mean, I don't think Max Domi had a great game either. At least the eye test didn't show it. See where it was. Yeah, no, he was the fourth worst player on the ice tonight. So I mean,
they actually got robbed too, like at one point, like point blank. But anyway,
snake bit. And that probably would have changed it a little bit as well. But again, Steven Lorentz was the second best player. Like when your top three is Tanev, obviously he'll be either usually. But when your number 2 and 3 are Steven Lorentz and Ryan Reeves, you've probably lost the game. Either that or you had just a masterclass performance from the I guess the top 4 or the bottom 6. So I don't know, Darius. It's one you just chalk up and you move on to the next game, and in the form of just let them be. You let them. I don't think it's a huge deal. I'm going to take the optimistic side. I think it's going to be fine. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy. I think they're going to bounce back tomorrow against the Washington Capitals. Hopefully Austin Matthews gets in. Highly doubt it. And something else, again, if you missed the game, here were the lines tonight. Nyes, Domi, Marner, Pacioretty, Tavares, Nylander, McMahon, Holmberg, Robertson, Lorentz, Kampf, and Reeves. So it's interesting to see if they change anything up tomorrow. Maybe they shuffle around the defensive pairings. Maybe they move Domi off of that first line. Maybe they change something up there. But it's interesting.
Yeah, and you said you're not worried going into tomorrow and you're optimistic, like they should pick up a win. I would like to think that way too, but they had a performance. I can't remember who it was against. I'll get back to it in a second.
Yep, 279 from Blake Sim. Good luck picking 3 stars. Yep, I mean...
Don't worry, I got him already.
It's going to be a very difficult 3 stars. Also, just shout out to myself for getting the wrong lineup. This is definitely just not the lineup that was tonight because it has Pacioretty in there. But it was, I saw Pacioretty and I was like, what's going on here? But I think it's mostly, honestly, the same if you replace
I think it's
Pacioretty.
the same. You plug in, you plug in McMahon on the second line, you put Dewar there on the third line. So
Dewar was in, Pacioretty was out.
Yeah.
Long day. I just realized I saw Pacioretty. I'm like, was that a typo on their part? It was the top result. But yeah, no Pacioretty. Yeah. That was, I picked the wrong line. But it's interesting. Thank you again, Blake Sim. Yeah, the 3 stars. I'm gonna have to think very hard about it. But yeah, Darius, it's a rough one.
Yeah, I'm a little worried, to get back to my point, that like, they had a performance. I can't remember who it was against earlier this year. It was a couple weeks ago, maybe St. Louis, where they said, you know what, maybe it was before St. Louis. I can't remember who it was against, but they're like, we're just going to chalk this up to like, sometimes you have performances like this. Columbus, it was in Columbus, the horrible game, right? That horrible game. And we're just going to chalk this up to sometimes you have these stinkers. And then they went on to lose 2 more games in the same fashion. So I'm a little bit worried, especially because Washington is on a bit of a roll this year. They're a lot better than I expected. That's for sure. They kind of retooled on the fly. So Washington, at home, the Leafs are in the second half of a back-to-back. I don't want to make excuses for them already, but like, I don't know. That's a little tough. I hope that they can pull out the win, but something earlier this season is telling me that, hopefully they don't fall into that hole again. And we'll see if they've learned their lessons as well. So it's going to be interesting, a really interesting game tomorrow, and Wool gets to start again too. I honestly think also that Wool, like, I think Stolarz is playing great. But I feel like, and I'm not blaming him tonight or anything like that he led in the 3 goals, nothing like that. I don't think some of them were his fault anyway. But I think Wall should start getting into more games too, because I feel like we're going to hit like a wall with Stolarz. Not that he's going to play bad, but let's not like push him to 50 games so quickly. Like, you have Wall and he hasn't been playing bad either. So maybe Wall gets into another game here soon too. But I would still play Stolarz against the Oilers on Saturday. But much to think about this week.
Yeah, and he had he still had like a 923 save percentage, 921 save percentage, so a well above average save percentage. It was just the defense let him down. This team will never change, period. It's very interesting. Darius, I think we hop into our 3 stars. There's not much to digest, no pun intended, but there's not much to Leafs digest in this game. I just think it's I don't know. There's not much to talk about here. And
there's really not much.
We still went live for it. We'll still go live for every single game we can, but I think it's just one because it's not even a game where you have many positives and you can kind of analyze it and say, hey, this is what they need to do for tomorrow. They just need to lock it in and play better. But let's go to our 3 stars here again. It'll be a shorter one tonight. Also, the Winnipeg Jets won again against the New York Rangers, so they're the storyline of the season.
The Winnipeg Jets, by the way, it is November 12th. They've only lost to the Leafs so far this year. It's insane.
And the Rangers were the big talking point, and they absolutely crushed them.
Rangers haven't been playing well as well, but the Jets are on a roll. They are dialed in. That's crazy. But
third star.
My 3rd star tonight. This is
I'm gonna bring up this because it's gonna guide my.
This is a tough one tonight. I'm gonna give it to Steven Lorentz tonight because we haven't talked about him in a while, and I thought he was
the same one.
Yeah, I thought he was decent. So I'll just give it to Steven Lorentz for doing his thing.
Mine is also Steven Lorentz. He was solid and he's been steady the whole year. So gotta give him that there. We probably might have similar ones here.
We might have similar ones. My 2nd star is Chris Tanev. I thought he played a pretty solid game as well. So I'm going to go with Chris Tanev. He's continuing to do the simple things, and it wasn't good. Wasn't a good game for anybody, but I thought Chris Tanev was continuing to do the simple things and slow the game down and actually give them a chance on the back end. I thought he was great defensively as well. So
yeah, I'm going to go I'm going to go Chris Tanev as well. We're going to have the same stars. Chris Tanev is my number. Right. I was going to go Anthony Stolarz 2nd star, but I think Anthony Stolarz was objectively the best Leaf on the ice tonight, and I don't think it was particularly close. No one else played well. I'm going to give it to Chris Tanev, and without Anthony Stolarz there, they probably would have given up 5 or 6 goals with a below average goalie in the net. So I'm going to Chris Tanev 2 and Anthony Stolarz 1 for me.
Anthony Stolarz 1 as well. He was the best player on the ice. He got a very large workload tonight, and he gave them a chance in a lot of situations there. So he's going to be my 1st star. An honorable mention to John Tavares. I thought he played pretty well again today. Not good enough to score, but noticeable out there. I thought he was driving some plays, so I thought he was decent tonight.
Also, if you're in here, hit the like button. Let's try to get to 20 likes. We're about to wrap up, but let's see if we can get that. Any final thoughts, everybody? It's the shortest one of the year, and I think it's warranted for a game like this. It was an absolute stinker. You move on from it. You go to tomorrow, and it's a new day tomorrow. And again, the record's still great. They're still playing really well. Tonight is just a blip on the road. So, any final thoughts? Thank you again, Jose and Blake, for the donation. We really appreciate it, especially in a stinker game like tonight. But any final thoughts? Anybody in the chat? Thank you all for those who tuned in. Again, there's going to be a few of these throughout the season, but still wanted to go live for you all. And any final thoughts?
It was there's a lot you could take from this game in terms of lessons, and I know Leaf fans are sick and tired of hearing about lessons, but I think there's a lot you can take from this game. And I think Berube, what's going on, Marshall? I think Berube is going to have I'm sure he was very vocal after the game in the dressing room, and I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say going into tomorrow. But I think, I don't know. It's a stinker. It's one of those that you literally just have to move on from because it was horrible. But let's not repeat this performance. It's happened earlier this year where they said, we have these games. It's a stinker. We're going to put our head down and kind of get back to it. And then they didn't for 2-3 games after that. So they cannot do that. And I think a lot of people are bringing him up, and it's true. I took his jersey off the wall until he scores. He's got to get going. It's Max Domi. He is snake bitten right now. And I think he's going to be he's a big part of the team. Like, he's got to get going. So that's some success lies there if Domi gets going.
Yeah, no worries, Blake. We'll see you for the next game on whatever their game is after Wednesday.
Saturday
So,
and next Wednesday.
Saturday. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed. Again, it was a stinker. These will happen throughout the long 82 game season. But again, if you guys want more Leafs content, video earlier today, and we'll have a video for you all tomorrow because it's a new day tomorrow, and I think they're going to play really well tomorrow. But thank you guys for watching, and we will see you all very, very soon.
Leafs Digest, your daily dose of gold. Stories of the bold where legends untold. From first puck drop to the season's full. Tune in.